I'm Bel Bare. This is Sacred Mechanics.
Thanks for tuning in. I thought I would do a video version of the podcast today for a change from my beautiful little space by the sea. It's overwhelmed by books like everywhere and all down the other side. So I don't know, it's becoming a burden maybe, but I can't stop. I keep buying books. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that know exactly what I mean. They can be our best companions. So today again is like an unscripted journal style entry. You haven't heard from me since late 2025, which seems so long ago. This is being recorded on the 11th of January 2026. And oh my goodness, so much has happened this year, spiritually, politically, so many things to think about. So I just want to talk about that because it can be really isolating if you don't spend time with a lot of other people like me. I have one or two people in my life and my kids, but like, I think they get sick of me bouncing around some of this stuff. But let's discuss. First, on a spiritual note, there was a lot of talk in the lead up from the spiritual community and astrologers and psychics and all of that about this new era that we're walking into, this ascension, this new age that we're coming into. And yeah, it's happening, but it's like lava down a mountainside that's a bit slow. And for some of us, it's a bit too slow to recognize or feel. And we can feel like we're not attuned enough or spiritual enough or like trained in a certain way to even understand what's going on and that we don't notice. But it's perhaps designed to not be that obvious for us, that it's maybe a bit like boiling the frog, isn't it? Where we just, before we know it, we're different and the world is different. And I'm saying this more as a reassurance to most people that aren't working professionally in the spiritual industry. And it's okay to not notice that there's suddenly this big change with you emotionally, or there's no great revelation with the full moon coming or any of that. Some people are really sensitive to it and they've worked on it or they're born like it, and that's really cool. Others don't really notice the big changes unless they're journaling, and it's the hindsight giving 2020 vision, so to speak. So it's okay. And it's really important as you become more spiritually conscious and awakening that you do somewhat track the moon cycles and how your body reacts to certain information and following cues from your inspiration. But it shouldn't become an obsession that's everything, because it's not everything. We can actually get totally sidetracked as much as we do doom scrolling, and we get too self-involved and too self-absorbed. So it's really important that you find a balance, because you've got to live your day-to-day life, and it's good to keep an ear out or an eye out on the spiritual stuff as well. But it's really hard to keep it front and center, and you're trying to like be spiritual and awaken and do all this stuff, but life doesn't slow down for that. So you need to just find a way to merge into it. This also goes for spiritual practice like meditation, trying to learn how to manifest, and all of these things that are really huge right now if you're tapped into social media and on YouTube. And there's a lot of wonderful teachers, but that's perhaps exactly the problem. There's a lot. So it's okay to unplug and just take things in small doses. Your body and your spirit knows what to do. You can't force or push some of this stuff, but it depends what voice you hear some of these teachings from, where suddenly after years of listening to the same things, one day it can just lock in because the right person says it in the right way, and then you just get it. And that's really cool when that happens. But this is sometimes by chance or divine intervention or divine timing where that happens. But my point being, don't stress about it. We go through this huge awakening doorway and everyone's like, well, I'm still here. The world's pretty shit and nothing's changed. And I give up. So I don't want you to do that. I just need you to try and understand this is all transition and we're all working at different speeds. And I like to stand in the middle of this too and tell you I'm a psychic medium. I have the sight, I suppose, and all sorts of, I guess, spiritual abilities on a subtle level. Some have been honed and some haven't. And even as that person that's highly interested in the spiritual, decades of training, uncountable books read and things like that, I can sit down and watch videos and try and tune in. I got nothing. I'm like, that full moon, yeah, we can talk about it, watch videos about it, but actually I can't create these self-fulfilling prophecies because I know the moon is meant to do a certain thing. Sometimes it just isn't like that, even for ones that have our toe in that water all the time. So maybe the fun and enjoyment and the spiritual growth is in the journey of this search, I suppose. But you've got to accept that it's a journey, and the end goal, it's not arriving. You don't just get that. Very few people sort of step out of their cabin door and get sort of struck by lightning and suddenly they come to and they've had this insane awakening in 30 seconds flat. This is just not going to happen, really. It's like a very, very, very small amount of people in our whole timeline that have had this experience. For the rest of us, it's slow and interesting, and for all of our life, we may never get to that clarity. We'll get glimmers of it so that spirit shows us it is there and to keep going. And it's like we're following a thread, but it doesn't mean we'll have this pure consciousness and can just carry forward and do our day. I don't think that's the goal, really. I think it's about learning to acknowledge, accept, and experience our spirit in human form, and understand that our spirit is simply animating this body, and that our concept of reality and how we're trained when we're born is nowhere near what's actually going on. And once we understand that through layers of education, things definitely get more interesting, but it doesn't make the day-to-day mundane stuff more simplified. I've still got to pay the rent and feed my kids this evening and put fuel in the car and that sort of thing. Like, life carries on, but we've just got this overarching knowledge that's slowly building. And sometimes it helps take the edge off things like trauma, what seems to be unrest in our community or society. We get more of a philosophical perspective, and it helps us with our empathy and compassion to others, because it's like we are sharing this experience. We're all in these bodysuits and we're all in the same boat. And I think it's good to be reminded of that from time to time. And it's not a race. Absolutely not a race. We've all got our own goals. And when I say goals, I mean our spiritual intention of why we are incarnated at this time, on this plane, on this timeline. Maybe we're lunatics, but it's bad, but it's not bad, because, there's a lot of confronting stuff going on. There's a lot. When you look back through history, we're good, we're fine, we're comfortable, and these are small little hiccups in the path that we're traveling. We're actually quite good. I think it's been far worse. We just need to remember that there's many of us and few of them, and we can hold our ground if we stay positive and focused on the kind of a beautiful free life we all hope to have moving forward, and don't let anyone take that away from us. Let's talk about this 50s identity crisis thing. I think I've touched on this before about maybe feeling invisible, careers thrown away. I've always been considered the artistic one, the creative one growing up, and a little bit special. I think a bit odd with my spirituality, definitely black sheep vibes. And anyone that's into a bit of that, I guess it's pop psychology in a way, that I'm a INFJ personality type. So I think we're a bit odd as well. Anyway, I decided to go back to school and do some university units here and there. I have been for the last 5 years, and I've been jumping around. I've dropped out of English literature, creative writing, a master's degree in painting, fine art, architecture, landscape architecture, religious studies, a law degree, dropped out of a marine biology degree in 5 years. I just, every semester, just jump, or maybe 5.5. Anyway, I did finish the units I was doing, but I just couldn't stay on the path. I found it so boring just doing one subject, and I was always digging and searching to find the thing, and maybe a little bit to test myself and where my strengths were outside of the career, which was all I knew as a creative director and graphic designer and all of that, and find things that I could really get my teeth into. I think I've finished a degree a couple of times over in the amount of work I've put in, but I have no piece of paper to show for it. I finally found this course, and I'm about to start it, that is like a really eclectic humanities degree, and it's very challenging. Where am I going with this? The point was that this new course that I've started is a very high benchmark academically to get into. And I'd had my eye on the course for nearly a year, and I was just quietly hoping I could get in. Anyway, I applied, and little Bel Bare got a selection ranking of 98.86 out of 100. That's like really good. And I got in, and I was so excited and so proud of myself, because I didn't have that formal education all through my career in my 40s. Then I get to my 50s, I'm like, I'm going to try uni. And you know what? I'm not a complete moron like I thought I was. I've actually got this real hunger for education now, and it's lit me up again. Like, I can do this, and the university has shown real support in giving me this freaking amazing score of 98.86, and just let me straight into this top tier elite little cohort. And gee, I hope I pass. But it's just very exciting, because what I want to do now, since my 36-7 year career as a designer is all but gone through age and AI and me losing interest in being a pixel monkey. I just don't want to do that anymore. And I tried art and painting, but I get bored with that. I want to take my spiritual interest in that knowledge, and then my academic interest in religion and history and art history in particular, and just put it all together and go all the way through to a postgraduate path. That's what I'm doing. And I haven't really told anyone except my partner about the score, and my mum, but she wasn't that interested. I'm still like a little kid with, I go, Mum, look, I got an A. And she's like, that's cute, nice dear, and whatever, and just off I go. So always trying to please someone. These are things that I'm still trying to work through. Because saying before, it's a journey for all of us, no matter how psychic we are. It's a journey. I'm telling you this because, particularly ladies, if you've just spent your life raising kids, being a domestic help / servant / superhero / nurturer, all of these feelings we get through the process of motherhood, or just running any household and being a carer. Some days we feel like a superhero and a legend and we love it, and other days we feel like a slave. If you've got this little flame burning and you're just wondering if you can, because if you think you can, You know you can. I'd like to say that with that 98.86, which is really fun to say, I came from gardening school as a horticulturist for 6 months, wondering if I could actually go a little bit further and even get into uni, because I barely passed high school because I finished year 12, which is our senior in Australia here, at 15 years old, because my mother put me in school at 4 years old in year 1 because she was having trouble nursing my little baby premature sister who my mum was a teenager and she couldn't handle everything, and she just put me in school at 4 years old. And I just struggled all the way through school and thought I was an idiot. Yeah. So I'm 50. I think I'm 53 or 4. Maybe I'm 54 soon. So it's taken me this long, and I'm going to be okay. I'm just going to start doing a bit more of what I want to do and find a way to sort of weave together all of these interests. And I hope if someone out there watching this is finding themselves at a crossroad of an opportunity or a major reset in their life, this is your time to grab the brass ring and just give it a crack, give it a try, do what you want to do. It's absolutely better to fail and not achieve so that you have the chance to get up and do it again than to not ever try it and just wonder. Please give it a go, give it a crack. I also want to talk about manifesting. I feel awkward talking about manifesting. I know a lot about it, been studying it a lot, but I don't put into practice very well because I'm sitting here in my lounge room / bedroom / kitchen / dining room / library. Or maybe I've just not asked for riches and brought that into my field, but I'm rich in so many ways, I suppose, with my family and my health. My location, albeit very noisy, it's near the beach, and my family. Have you noticed that manifestation teachers are really wealthy or appear to be really wealthy because of the money they've made through people wanting to learn manifesting? So it's like they're just magnetizing heaps of money for other people also wanting to magnetize heaps of money. It's like this bizarre sort of pyramid scheme. I'd like to have the ability to talk about some law of attraction and 101 stuff here and there, but I'm not sitting in my ivory tower. I'm not driving like a G-Wagon. There are other purposes to manifestation that don't have to be where a lot of them speak of being a billionaire and all of this. Like, oof. There are smaller measures of manifestation that are actually really valuable and very make life fun, enjoyable, and feasible. It's about the little things happening, and it can be a bit of a game, but that's a great way to learn and practice. So again, if you're spending lots of money or time on learning to manifest and your goals are just like way beyond your true sense of believability, pull it back a bit. And also look around you and count your blessings, and you've manifested that too. So what your situation is today, you've manifested or pre-organized in the past to get you to where you are right now. So think about that, whatever your situation. And look, if you feel like you're just in a ring of fire right now and you just hit rock bottom, part of you may have aligned this so that you have the opportunity to reset, because sometimes we don't reset and chase what we want, what needs to happen for us on a soul level until there's nothing else to do but that, and our options get stripped away. And I guess at this age, probably a few of you would have experienced that in your life where there's been relationships ending or financial loss or sudden upheaval of other kind where you feel like you've got nothing left. But that is exactly the point where you rise up and build things in a new way and restructure things how you want. It's pivotal. It's really important in our lifetime and our timelines to harness that energy of feeling you're at zero and just launching off that as hard as you can and as enjoyably as you can, and just go there, because this becomes your sort of your resurrection story. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on today was about our higher self. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience of it as a psychic medium and an energy healer. I did a few readings this week, which were spectacular because they were so enjoyable for myself and the sitters. I worked separately with each of them, but they were a group. And what I'd realized very clearly for myself in this process, and it's something I've always had clearly but didn't isolate it as a thing, is that when I connect with my client, and I always meet with their higher self for permission to work with their energy and ask anything that the sitter might need to know that they're not hearing from their higher self. And when I do this, I always see the higher self of the person in human form, one way or another, or almost human. And it's really great because when I describe the higher self and how they physically appear and what their attitude is like, this is what usually lights up the sitter. I describe what they look like, what their voice was like, they had a sense of humor, or they looked very clever or very loving. What were they wearing? What was their thing? And this is very touching sometimes. It does bring people to tears sometimes because they know it and they feel it. And this happens sometimes too with spirit guides, when people just know it. And I think it's really important that we find a way to sit quietly with ourselves and get to know that higher self as a character and a personality. It's that extra voice. And if you've ever practiced automatic writing, or if you're artistic, just drawing and things like that, this is that opportunity for that little voice to come in. And our higher self is always delightful. It's just pure light and love, and tears of joy often come to me as well as the sitter when I connect, because you're touching God somehow. It's just unhindered by our trauma that apparently we sign up for here on the earth plane. Our higher self is us unencumbered somehow, and it's also a clue to our true desire and passion, as with the guides that we bring with us or come to help at different stages of our life, and what their true nature is. Are they outdoor adventurous, or are they sort of aquatic, or are they like wise, or are they like monk-like? It can be very telling on the things that really pull us and draw us in the earth plane, and things we want to do and what our interests are and what we're here to learn. So yes, meet your spirit guide. It'll add a whole new dimension, and they're your very best friend. They really are. And it's a wonderfully nurturing relationship once you can learn to tune in and just call out for them and channel that. Also, of course, there's the angelic realm and guides come through, but that higher self connection is really precious. Especially in moments of indecision or isolation. Also, just, I guess, on a housekeeping note, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but I've moved my website and everything to Substack. I'm hosting my podcast on Substack as well as YouTube podcast, because I had to get off Spotify. No. I've also sort of not really on my Instagram anymore, Facebook if I have to, but very rarely. I'm afraid I've missed a couple of messages that people have sent in the past, and I'm sort of locked out. So I'm trying to clean up my act online as far as where my interests and investments of supporting the right kind of companies and all of that. Each one of us making these decisions does make a difference. It's really tough to pull away. Anyway, so YouTube, Substack, and then on the sacredmechanics.com, down the right-hand side, so there's all the podcast episodes, all of them. I think this is episode 18. There's not that many yet. Hopefully there's a lot more. There's a little link where you can book a reading with me, and I work on Zoom. We can do video call. They're just 1 hour slots. And there's a link to Fawn Books, which is my little publishing company. But I think with Substack, it sort of can sometimes not let you in unless you give the email address, and it's like this wall. I can't get rid of it. But I think there's a little tiny button where you can click and get rid of it to see the website. So if you are having trouble getting hold of me or just want to say something, you can always comment on the YouTube podcast or YouTube video, depending how you're catching this. Well, who knows where this podcast is going to go, and I hope you found it helpful, my friends that are still listening. Thank you very much. And I know I've still got to get back to you about the healing properties of salt and a few other things I'm going to be researching and discussing. And please send me questions if you want me to deep dive on anything. Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. I'm Bel Bare, and this is Sacred Mechanics.